Hello, my name is Eleni and I'm here with a triad regarding a problem where someone feels absolutely burnt out at work. So this happens, in my experience from talking to people and clients around the world, that it happens either at 30 years old, 40, 50, 60, 70, depending on your own state and the context with which you've been working. Now for this person, she's been working for about 25, 30 years and she's completely burned out. She worked for a company that did great things like research for AIDS cures and cancer cures that were very motivated and exciting. But even in that context, over time, doing a job that didn't seem big enough made her feel burned out. Okay, and it was also the context of that company as they changed over time, because it's really rare to be at a company for 20 or 25 or 30 years in these days. So this isn't a rare example, but it's not rare in the sense of what that person felt in terms of being burnt out. So she felt exhausted and burnt out, and she started to hate her job and then hate life. So things started to spiral into, I don't have energy after work to do fun things. I don't have energy to have dinner parties with friends. I don't have energy to go to museums, do anything. So this is what can happen when you feel overtired, under-supported, under-rested, etc. And so it's clear what would come from that. It's like I'm angry, I'm depressed, I'm unmotivated, anxious, and even resentful. And then what a lot of people do is they keep pushing themselves. They hear all of this, they feel all of this, but they feel like, well, it's a job, I need the money, I'm just going to keep pushing myself. Maybe I do everything by rote, like I've left myself at home, or I've lost myself, my excitement, my exuberance, I've lost it completely, and so I'm just going to work. Haven't you met people who go through the motions? It's like they're too tired. And maybe I hide how I feel so that I can have whatever's needed to go to work and try to put on a happy face and a smile and a mask. And I just dream of quitting, or I dream of not being there. And you probably have either felt that or seen people who feel that way. You can imagine this type of behavior. You can tell when someone is physically present but not mentally present, or they've checked out of boredom or being burnt out or whatever, but we can recognize that. And for this person, burnout is now a topic people study. You can look at UC Berkeley, researchers from around the world study being burnt out. It's a state of being, which is really sad. And it means that we've let ourselves go for so long without replenishing, without sleeping well, without eating well, with overworking, overstress has taken such a toll. We've tolerated that for so long that now we're in a state of burnout. And what people might say to burnout is like, see, these people are weak. Look, they get burnt out. A machine never gets burnt out. Yes, it does. If you've had a machine, and you can see the videos online where machines just blow up or they stop working or you have to replace it for one reason or another. So in other words, machines and humans are not meant to go forever in any context. We have to be in a context where we respect our bodies, we respect our minds, we respect the context we're in, the relationships, and all of those good things that motivate us and make us feel good. So let's say someone who's burnt out wants to not feel burned out anymore. That will require health and well-being and rest and sleeping well, but in addition to that, if we draw a triad, it could have different thoughts, feeling, and behavior sets. So what I do matters. Even though in this company, what she did matters in a broader sense, after time, her specific daily life was disconnected from that broader purpose. The idea that I can be happy, I can have purposeful work, I can have a job I like, I can be motivated and happy, I can be engaged. Maybe I need to get a job I love. Maybe I need to quit this one. Maybe I need to reframe, get on different projects. Maybe I need to take some time off. Maybe I need to change the context in terms of project or boss or any other, maybe even a new city. So for me, from my point of view, I don't believe people can overcome being burnt out in the same context that burnt them out. Now, this might not be one company. It might be over 20 years, you go to different companies and you're burnt out from long hours of work, from maybe a lot of travel, maybe a lot of detailed work, whatever the case is, but you know when you're burnt out. You can hardly get out of bed. You're exhausted with everything. You can't feel positive anymore. You're like, I can't even go and, put on a nice outfit or go to a museum or do something fun anymore. That's this like feeling depleted, completely depleted. That is what is a burnt out state. And so you need rest and relaxation. So you can't just shift from one triad to another from a state of burned out unless the burnout is not necessarily only physical. If it's maybe not physical and it's mental, then you can shift. But burnt out usually is a state of, I can't go on more. This is just going to kill me. And research by Jeff Pfeffer and others who are doing this work have made links to this type of context that creates this triad in a work environment actually does kill people. It makes them so ill that they either die or they have chronic diseases that then leads them to die. So we have to figure out how to change our context. First, we change it internally. And by changing it internally, I say, I shift my environment. I leave from a toxic place that was toxic for me. Maybe it's not toxic for someone else, but it was for me. And I shift that. And by leaving this environment, this person is making a message, telling the company, telling the bosses there, this is not working. They may not get that for 10, 20, 30, 50 years, but that's what you're also doing when you quit. You're making a statement and you're saying, no, I'm not going to allow this anymore. I'm not going to allow myself to be in this context anymore where all I get is this. Okay? So it's not going to say, oh, the context is to blame. It's saying, let me put responsibility where it is in the context of that space. This is a triad I get. I can transform it to create another triad, but the context may not respond. Like in other videos I made on triads, you can often influence the context to then change because you've changed. But in some situations, you really can't. So in an environment where it's always firefighting, where people work 8 to 10 hours a day or 8 to 15 hours a day, where people say you have to come into work at last moment to do this or that, when there's constantly this firefighting, then you can't really change that on your own. Even CEOs have a hard time changing such contexts, and you can read about case studies on that in the internet all around. So I'm just making it clear that my position is, if you're really burnt out physically and mentally, you need time off to then recuperate and regenerate. And that's why a lot of people in executive level or even any level, over time, they quit because they feel like that context doesn't suit me anymore. It doesn't give me what I need, and I can't be this triad in that context. And so that's why a lot of companies are hiring leadership development coaches, doing design thinking, trying to change their culture so that they can do beautiful work in reasonable amounts of time, where people can then also go home and rejuvenate and rest and feel connected to themselves and the work they're doing. So this is, not always obvious to go from one triad to another if there's such depletion on the physical level. I just want to make sure that I'm not having the fantasy that you can switch your mindset and then suddenly your burnout is fixed, because you need to rejuvenate over time, eat well, sleep well, do things that are interesting, and really move out of that. But if you quit your job and you're still there, for example, then that creates problems. And we'll do another video making an example of, you're in this context and you've quit, and now what? So we'll do that in another video.